We are welcome back retired NASA astronaut Nick Hague, who is with us and also with the U.S. Space Force. Nick, you know what's going on. Okay, I can give you some news. I can give you Nick. I can give you some news. I was just told in my ear. Forgive me for interrupting you. It has been resolved. The flight termination issue has been resolved. So Nick, now go for launch. I've just been informed. So Nick, take it from there.
Yeah, no, it's great to deal with problems that are resolved. And I knew before you told me, because there was a huge cheer outside here with the crowd that's behind me down there waiting for this launch. So that's always great news. I think, a great time to highlight just the level of collaboration that happens between the Space Force and NASA to make a mission like this, a mission of this magnitude, happen. You know, the Eastern Range is operated by the Space Force out of the 45th Space Launch Delta here at Patrick Space Force Base. And one of the principal things that they do is make sure that public safety is always first and foremost. And so while, we're focused on making sure that the crew is going to be safe during this very, dynamic operation, this test flight, we're also making sure that the American public is safe, because there's a lot of rocket fuel that's stored up in there, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of everybody.
You know what I should have done, Nick, is I just should have said, Nick, why don't you break the news for us? Because you just heard a cheer. I'm in a studio, but we got it taken care of. And I want you to communicate to our audience something I think you referred to that is important. In a moment like that, when we hear, oh, it's a no-go, maybe there's a heart flutter, oh, wow, something really important, maybe something dangerous. And what you're telling us, and what I think people need to appreciate, is these are system checks. They are rigorous. They are painstaking. And they can be resolved. And when they are resolved, things can proceed apace. But you've got to go through the checks.
Absolutely. The question of why does the crew go out to the launch pad 4 hours before they're going to launch? Why does it take so long? It's because we're going through, NASA's checking every one of those systems. The folks over at the Eastern Range Mission Operations Center are checking through all of their systems. We're making sure that everything is perfect. And the idea that you're going to go through those checks and you're not going to discover something, there's not going to be something that you need to fix, is probably unrealistic. There's so many. And so every launch that we have, we're working through issues all the way to the end, it's exciting to see the teams come together and work those problems in real time in that environment, that stress-packed environment, to see them balance all the technical challenges, but then also maintain public safety and safety of the crew as the highest priority.
And this is worth delving into for a second, Nick, and I think you'll appreciate my next question. There wasn't a Space Force when we went to the moon last. It wasn't even on anyone's mind. There is now. So how does that change this collaboration? How does it change the communication? What are the equities for Space Force that used to be occupied by somebody else?
Yeah, the Space Force is in its 6th year. So we're still forming as a service, but we're continuing to do all of those legacy missions that were accomplished within the Air Force. If you think of GPS and navigation, if you think of satellite communications and global missile warning, those are things that we have continued to do and will continue to do. You can also think about the things that NASA depends on the Space Force to provide so that we can do a mission like this safely. How do I launch a rocket into space when I'm entering into a space with 10,000 other satellites, a lot of which are really close to the Earth, traveling 5 miles a second? Well, the way you do that is you track all of those objects. And so our Space Force Delta II is tracking all of those things. I've got the 18th Space Defense Squadron. They're tracking and cataloging the 50,000 things that they're able to around the Earth, of which about 10,000 of those are satellites. And then I've got the 19th Space Defense Squadron that is doing the analysis to make sure that when I launch this rocket during this launch window, that I'm not going to collide into anything that's already in orbit. And so that's the level of collaboration that's required in order to make a mission like this, something as grand as going back to the moon, possible.
Nick, I don't know if you have a monitor nearby and a return, but what we can see on the NASA feed is the hatch door for Orion has been closed. It was open a while ago. It's closed now. That has got to be a promising sign, and technicians appear to be making some final preparatory checks, but that door that was open a while ago closed now. That has to be a positive sign.
Absolutely, it's a positive sign, and I think you'll see the white room crew, the pad crew there, start to clean things up after they've made sure that those leak checks are done on that hatch, and then they're going to start to get away from the pad so that we can enter into a final countdown and watch this thing go.
You mentioned leak checks. If you could explain that to my audience a little bit more, I would invite you to do so.
Absolutely, leak checks are important on those hatches. Right now, that hatch is a doorway that you can get in and out of. But when I'm up in the vacuum of space, I need to make sure that the atmosphere that we're trapping inside of the capsule that's going to keep the crew alive stays inside the capsule. And so on the ground, we check to make sure that no gas exchange happens, that air won't leak out of that hatch. Their crew's going to depend on that hatch to be airtight for the next 10 days.
Nick Hague, I can't thank you enough for your expertise and your willingness to jump in as this news broke and you're able to explain it to our audience. Thank you so very, very much.